Welcome to Yellow Skunk Farms, everybody. It's a quick disclaimer. This is a 21-year-old and up channel, so if you're not 21, please leave now. This is educational purposes only and just a personal hobby of mine. So if you're not 21, please leave. Thank you. And our Monstera is just a monster. It's a monster Monstera. That's all I can say. Look at it. Insane. I mean, I've seen them get big, but I've never had one get this big. I mean, just go to yesterday's video and look at the leaf size of that. It's insane. Like every day it looks like it grows an inch. A time-lapse camera would be awesome on this. But I showed you this yesterday's video. Now you can go back and look at how much it's opened up or stretched since yesterday. I mean, it was literally down here yesterday. It was like it did all of this last night and yesterday. And it'll just, excuse me, it'll start to unwind. You can already see the little phrase that it's already formed. That thing will just start to whoop, 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 and end up like this. The roots are in the terrestrial side, and they're also stretched over there into the pond. You can see them. Well, you used to be able to see them. Here they are. Going on down in there, and they wrap all the way around. So if you're not familiar with this channel, if you're new to the channel, this is a complete indoor ecosystem that we're done for cannabis. And we're also working on a vegetable side, but that's coming this year. Check our videos for that. We did a live the other day of me laying it out, talking about it while I was laying it out. What's up, Coot? Look how crystal clear the water is today. I mean, crystal clear. It's not even like it's there almost. I didn't have the bubbles going. I see you, Coot. Looking good, boy. You're looking good. There's old Molly. Molly hangs around the turtle because the turtle is always ripping stuff off, and everything that comes out of his mouth, the Molly gets. Kind of like the cleanup crew. What's up, Poot? Poot's hungry as hell. Look at him. There's Scooter. Let's see, or her, excuse me. So if you're new to the system, this is the pond. In the pond we have one pump. We have one pump over there in the corner. You can't really see anymore. And that pump pumps up the water. Comes up out on top of the mountain here. And we also have the D-hue dumping water. You see it drip, drip. Alright. So that water is then hitting the creek system and running on down through the creek system, turning and burning back into the... Now the creek is our filtration. So the filter is the creek. And we lay some biochar bags. So this is just a Chemi Pure bag. It's full of biochar. We have 2 of those laid in the creek just to help. And then we have this nitrate pad, basically just a filtration pad out of a freshwater aquarium. You can see our shrimp. There's a cherry shrimp. There are thousands of those in here. I mean, they are everywhere, big and small. They've been reproduced. We put like 6 in, and they have just been going crazy in here over the last 12 months. So every now and then, every week or so, we'll pull this pad out, and what I do is lay that pad in here on the soil. And that allows the biology to clean the pad. So they'll come in and eat all that fish poo. And then they have to crap that out too. So once they are done working that pad or that fish into themselves, they will crap it out into the bed and then allow the microbes to do their thing. So this is basically us feeding. That's a potato. I put an old potato that just a piece of one, this big. And I buried it down in there like 7 months ago. And it just came up like a few days ago. I don't expect this to do anything. I really don't. I don't expect it to do a whole lot. Of course, I didn't expect it to see it anyway, but here it is. So I guess that's a good sign. But then once this has been cleaned by the biology, I just put it in there yesterday. So we'll leave it for a while. We'll leave it a couple more days. We don't use them forever, so only do that maybe 2 or 3 times until the pad is pretty much done. You can see the old pads over here. Okay, so what I do is then remove the biochar. So I'm letting this dry, and then I'll remove the biochar. Actually, we can do that right now if you want. So the biochar inside this bag here is chock full of what was in the creek. So we can just sprinkle this biochar on top and just let it do its thing. Biology, worm, everything will just, as we pile things on, this will eventually just end up in the bottom or in the middle, packed full of life. Now I don't want to put, I'm not going to do this all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe once every couple of years at best this needs to be done. This is actually the first time I've ever done it. But I know there's biochar in the soil because when we purchased the soil from Big Worm, he already had inoculated his biochar that he uses. But we're just going to add ours to it because this is different biology and it can't hurt. So just work that in, and then as we don't have to push it into the ground, we don't have to work it into the ground. Now it just sits there, does its thing, and we'll build on top of it. So eventually, like in a couple of years, it'll be in like an inch or two of organic matter on top of that biochar, just like it would in nature. Just falls down and does its thing from there. Nobody's pushing it into the ground or anything. We don't have to do any of that. Then I've got today, this is the old, look at the old stump. Shit. There we go. There's the old cannabis stump. It just turns into food. You can see the isopods, dairy cows, the worms, the mites, road beetles, springtails, all these things breaking down organic matter as we speak, 24/7. There's a mite, this little brown mite right there. They don't like light. But look at the springtail. That white thing is a springtail right there. So these are my workers. And this is my city of workers. So we got to feed these workers. And what we're feeding is basically what we grow. Same thing we grow. It's a chop and drop system. Every once in a while I'll bring in some of this that I had. This is just an old kiwi. Alright. This will be gone tomorrow. Like all that'll be gone. So all I'm going to do is feed it to the soil. So I'm going to feed the biology. So I'm breaking down this stump. This is the male stump. So we're breaking that down right now. You can see the worms coming up. And that's why we lay this. There's a earwig. So what I can do to speed the process up is feed right around here. And this will bring up all that biology, all those critters up around this stump area. They'll feed this and then they'll eat on this. So it'll be a nice little buffet. Cover it up, keep it moist. Next we can just take this, dump it in the water, get us a little juice going. And plop it right down on there like that, or like this side. It was on that side, we'll put it on this side. This is going to keep that area moist, keep the biology happy. Here's the another old stump. You can see it's just turned into nothing. Look. This happens because we have life in the soil. And the moisture is perfect. And what's happening here is that the moisture from the creek is being wicked up. So I don't water my soil. I don't water any of this. I haven't watered in months. If I watered, we'd have an issue. We'd have definitely too much of a water issue. This grass is getting tall. I might have to come through because it's taking over my fern. But even though the fern isn't really a big deal, but it's wicking this water up. You can see right here. Let me get my seat because my back hurts. Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at this. Because this is the sand, silt, and clay. So you can see in the creek, that's what it looks like. Shrimp down there, but that creek, the bottom of that creek is that sand and that silt and the clay that the water is running over. So that sand, silt, and clay we extend up onto the wall. Here's the creek wall, and then here's the other creek, the other side. So there's this creek wall and this creek wall running through the bed, and then this wall is in between. The creek wall and the foundation wall is here, the creek wall is here. There's not much space on this end for soil, but there is soil all the way down till you get to the sand, silt, and clay layer. This is an horizontal soil system. The bottom of this down here is a reservoir. So we have rock, pea gravel, sand, silt, and then a layer of red clay to separate the soil from a reservoir. So the water will come down through the soil. What's excess will hit that clay layer. Alright, it's only about this thick. You don't want it too thick because too thick will actually hold the water there and not allow it to seep through. But a thin layer will allow that water to hit that clay layer, sit there for a second, and then slowly seep down through that clay layer into the sand, into the reservoir, down into our rock system, down to where the liner is. Okay, so this separates soil from swamp. Big thing. We have to separate soil from swamp because we don't want to grow in a swamp. Bad things happen in the swamp. So how do we get the water from the creek into our soil beds evenly? Like, instead of just like one spot, how do we get it to wick and pull all the way across our soil system, like all the way into this soil pockets here where the plants are? And the solution was quite simple. The sand, silt, and clay that's coming up out of the creek onto the edge of the rock wall, we don't have any sand and silt here, so it can't wick. Once we get to this point over here where the turtle is, you can see that the sand and silt wicks that water up from the creek, up the rock wall, We extend this sand, silt, and clay. Now this sand, silt, and clay has been worked by worms. So the worms are just underneath this layer here, working that sand, silt, and clay. And the more they work it, the more organic matters down, the more biology we have down in there that's available to the plants. The plants then can uptake this nutrient that the worms are running. So everybody knows worm castings are like the best of the best, but it depends on what the worm is eating, determines what comes out his butt. So the sand, the silt, the clay, the organic matter that is in the creek, biology rich, I might add, is now coming up, being worked by the worms. All this fish poo, all this stuff coming up, being trapped, being filtered by the sand, by the algae, by the plant roots, the worms. All of this gets broken down to available form that the plants can then uptake, and we don't have to do anything. So it's kind of like solving the water problem without having to go buy a blue mat system or anything like that. That was my mission on this. The whole mission was to figure out how to solve the water on basically with the water retention. How do you maintain moisture at the proper level? And the way you do it is with sand, silt, clay, because soil is made up of sand, silt, and clay. Organic matter on top. Now, depending on where you are on the planet, depends on what type of soil you have. Just so happens around here I have a very loamy soil. It's very sandy, very silty, because I live on a freshwater reservoir. And on this reservoir there are creeks that run into this reservoir from the rivers around here. And on the edges of these creeks, this is what it looks like on the edges of this creek. And I noticed that everything on the edge of the creek is just lush green. Everything is always just, beautiful. I'm just like, that's what, natural farming is teaching me to look for in nature, is to mimic nature and to find the spots that look lush and green and figure out why they're lush and green. And come to find out, the reason that they're lush and green is, in my opinion, the sand, the silt, the clay, the organic matter. The sand, the silt are made up of the oak trees, the beech trees, all the different diversity that I have down at the bottom of my hill over thousands of years have dropped their leaves, died, the trees have died, the wood has built up that organic matter down there. Eventually over the years that turns to sand, that turns to silt, turns to clay, or sand and silt. Clay is a form of rock weathering, so it's usually from a rock, like a granite. Now you can look at this granite and see all the different colors. That's all mineral. See that red? That's mineral. Unfortunately, the plant can't, uptake anything of the minerals that are trapped in this rock here. So what they have to do is that the biology that can eat and break down rock, weather it, the water hitting it all the time, weather, washing off all this mineral that is, it takes thousands and thousands of years, but eventually this rock will just dissolve into nothing. Like any mountaintop, like they're building, like they say Mount Rushmore, for instance, will be gone in 30,000 years. 30 to 40,000 years, Mount Rushmore will be weathered down. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's so cool about the pyramids. Like, the pyramids are shaped like that to avoid that erosion almost, but you can still see the erosion on the tops. It's pretty crazy how it works, and if you think about it, it kind of takes a mindset change on growing anything. I know it did for me. I was just like, what? And then I was just like, okay, I get it now. It's like, it's the biology in the gut system, in my guts that are breaking down nutrient. So it's the biology in the soil, basically the guts of the system, that are breaking down everything to release the energy that's been trapped inside that nutrient into our bodies, so to speak. So the plant is the biology, the microorganisms in the soil are breaking down mineral. The plant is then uptaking that mineral, producing a fruit. We eat the fruit, we get the mineral. If there's no mineral in the soil, there can't be any mineral in the fruit. And this is where, man comes in and starts to put mineral in. Like put the nitrogen in, put these different things in that it needs, because we've removed all of it. We've basically killed the biology. Now we have to produce the mineral. We have to do the job of the microbiology, because we killed the microbiology. So now we have to go in and do the job of it. I hope that makes sense. I mean, that it's really simple when you start to think about it in a way that's, not bringing science into it so much, where you bring in all these difficult words that a lot of people don't understand. This is really basic nature. It's a give and take system. The light puts down into the plant. The plant then pushes those sugar, turns light into sugar, simple sugars, pushes that sugar down its veins and roots, down into its roots, and feeds the microbes. The microbes then mine the nutrient, allowing the plant to uptake, and the cycle continues. So it's a poop loop. But we're missing most of the biology. So I'm just here to replace the biology, get the soil dialed in to basically where it's running itself. All we have to do is maintain the flow of the water, the volume of the water, and then steward the bed. And everything else, we don't have to feed, we won't have to amend anything, we won't have to keep putting amendments in the soil. That's the whole point of this. We won't have to water, we won't have to amend. If we do anything, it'll be like putting in some IMO4, which is just more biology, and like leaf matter and like chop and drop. All the mineral I need is being pulled into these leaves. So if we put it back to where it starts to cycle over, hence chop and drop, there's our mineral, there's our food right there. So it just takes time to get those layers broken down to that humic and fulvic acid form to where the plants can uptake it. And that's all we really need to know. Everything else will fall into line as long as we keep the moisture right. And the moisture is coming from the creek, which stays wet all the time. Look how black that is. That used to be sand. That used to be silt and clay. Now it's worm castings. That, as long as I don't touch and push down or water, the air can get down through there. The worm castings are like little balls, so they got air pockets. But when I go like push on it like that, boom, I just crushed. I compacted that. Now air can't get in there and move around. So now that guy's got, look, he just fell in it. There's a springtail. No, that's not. That's a baby isopod. Excuse me. But if you understand what I'm doing, that little bit, what I just did, probably crushed a lot of life. I just changed whatever was going on right there under the microscope. I just completely changed it simply by pushing down. And like all these guys in here are moving things constantly, but they're doing it without compaction. They're actually helping me uncompact and allowing that air to get down in my soil. This is why we don't want a thick mulch layer. We want this to be broken down quickly. I want it to be broken down quickly, so it's not very thick, like it's only like that thick. And it looks dry here, but it's not. I can feel moisture on my finger. So it's just underneath this layer, it is moist. And the reason it's moist is because it's wicking all that water all the way in, because we extend that sand, silt, and clay layer an inch thick on top of our soil. So what is all of that right there? Look, that's what it looks like underneath my mulch layer now. So all that is just tipped in, and it's wicking that water all throughout the top, maintaining that exact amount of moisture all the time. And that is the trick. I mean, we literally, this is only a year old. It's 12 months this month of turning on the water. It took me 10 months to build it, but day 726 today. It's actually just over a year since I turned it on. It took me another 11 months to build the thing, and then another 12 months. So that's where we're at day 726 today. But yeah, that's how it works. It's just turning all this sand and silt into that nutrient-rich soil that we're looking for. As long as we don't compact it down, it can get that air. Every once in a while, we can even, how golf courses, they aerate their greens. They'll just, or a pig will come through and just root up shit when things get out of whack. But I can feel the moisture all through here. Like, this is the ivy we got running through. Eventually that'll run all the way around everything. We'll plant around it. Here's this rock I had in here holding up. There's always something under a rock. Like, I can feel the moisture. Yep, I can feel the moisture right there. So that water is being wicked all the way up into that soil pocket. The biology needs that moisture. Doesn't need to be flooded, but it needs that water. There's a fine line there. And we figured out how to get that consistently. In nature, I didn't figure it out, nature did. I just kind of observed it and kind of said, you know what? There's a lot of water being wicked up this creek over here. I wonder if that'll work inside. And as long as we use the same material that's on the creek, yeah, I'd say it works pretty good. So the water runs underneath our dog funnel there. You can see it flowing on down. Comes in over here. If you go back to the beginning, that grass right there was just a little tiny. Now it's completely taken up. That's nothing but a huge root ball mass right there at the end, at the end where it intakes. I'm sorry, where it outtakes, where it comes out of the pump into the creek. That root mass of that grass there, that's catching a lot of that poo. And that's by design. So it dumps into this hole here where the grass sits, and that's the first filtration. And then it filters on through and on around, and the algae down here catches a lot of the poo. So then once the algae catches it, we can just come in here and grab what the algae has caught. It's an easy way to just feed our soil. And eventually we keep doing this over and over. We're just feeding the biology is all we're doing. And we're feeding it diversity. We're feeding it nutrient-rich, diverse food. From shrimp to turtles to, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, salmonella for the turtles. Lactic acid bacteria kills all of that. It takes care. That's why our water is so crystal clear. It's not just those filter pads, believe me. It is the lab that we use, the lactic acid bacteria that we make here. Super easy. Just rice wash water and milk. You can look that up on like a Chris Trump video. He's really good at teaching that kind of stuff. It's where I learned. But yeah, all in all, I mean, there's Plinko. Up. How big he's gotten. Holy cow. Yeah, huge. Yeah, I see you guys. But yeah, I think the labs is a big plus in helping clean the water. Helps everything just stay dialed in, keeps the bad things, the bad microbes away, and helps kind of like the defense on a football team. Like the labs is the defense. They're there to keep everybody in check, keep the other guys from taking over and getting in the end zones. The bad biology, that is. We don't want that bad biology. Although some, we need yin and yang, so I say we don't need any, we need some. Because too much good turns to bad, right? Vice versa. There's a little bit left on there. Just leave that right there. I don't like putting a lot of fruit in the bed. These are kiwis we had leftover shells. You can see the mold and fungi already starting to break down. This is exactly what I want. That is good. This is the first stage. So that's the fungus among us, and that is it's starting to break down this organic matter. Okay, and then the worm will come and eat that bacteria and that fungi. So he'll consume all that bacteria, that's all that. And then the cycle can continue. I can't tell you, I'm not a scientist. I can just tell you or show you how to feed and take care of a natural living system. I think I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty dialed in on everything that's going on. We don't want to be a moron. And by that I mean we don't put too much too fast. Because these guys, although they do break down a lot, it's good to let them go a couple of days without doing anything. You don't have to. And I just don't want to compact anything, so we lay these down in there. Just let those everything come up, and when they come up, they're working that soil for us, creating those air channels, especially when we don't have like our plants in here, but we do have the bush. So the bush is giving us what we need down in this soil air, because those roots are big. I mean, they're in there, they're deep, they're reaching out, they're giving us those exudates, those sugars that we need in this soil pocket. And it's a different type of biology. So this is more of a bush line, like on a tree line, so to speak, on the edge, you're going from like a field to the tree line. So you go from grass to bush to tree. So that successional line is right here. So this is what I was trying to recreate, the edge right on the creek and the bush and tree line. Let's see what we got here. We got another avocado shell. We can put this one in the middle. Still got some good stuff on it. The shell will hang around for a while, but like the shell will. But everything on the insides, and then that shell becomes a nice home for things to breed. Oh, put that underneath there a little bit. Yeah. Let them guys enjoy their little snack. So this is like a treat for the biology. We'll get one over there now, so I don't bust my ass. I got these slippers on like an idiot. There we go. Look at those roots there. This is the old stump here. Look at that. Just being broken down. This is exactly what we want to see. Look at the mites. It's fucking moving. Springtails. Springtails, those smart, tiny little white things. Look at the worm just hanging out right. Look at the stuff inside the worm. You can actually see the grit inside the worm. So as long as that moisture's there, see? As long as that moisture's right, these guys can do their job. Break down that organic matter, break down this stump quickly. I mean quick. Like we could plant right next to it. We could take another plant next time and just move over this little rock here. Look. And plant right there. We could plant our plant right there, and I guarantee you it would freaking take off. Because all those critters you see don't care about a living plant. They want to eat the dead. They're there to take care of the dead. They're like buzzards. That's nature's consumers of death. Without them, we'd be overrun with disease, and they're the reason why we don't have the disease we have. You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to kill off all the bacteria. You might want to rethink that. Without that bacteria, you wouldn't be here. So we are bacteria pretty much, a lot of it. So not all of it's bad. In fact, most of it's good. Let's stick this pit right there. Just let them guys go at it. That's kind of what I did with that potato, and look what we got. Maybe we'll get an avocado. Who knows? Yeah, all this stuff is good stuff. Don't want to waste any of it. Just gonna put it down in the soil a little bit. I don't want to cause compaction. And all this juice here. Yeah. Very nice. We won't see any flies, guarantee you that, because the fly larva is being consumed. Just like the spider mite larva, the fungus gnat larva. We have all this water around here, no fungus gnats, go figure. And I had spider mites out the yin yang for years. And then, with the bag, like just growing out of the 30-gallon bags right there, spider mite heaven. Come in here and do all this. No spider mites, no flies, no gnats, just black soldier flies and critters. It's crazy how it works. But if you have the patience to do it, it can be done. This is living proof right here. Once that soil's right, boy, it's on like Donkey Kong. What do you think, boys? Girls? Healthy, ain't it? Huh? Pooter, you're about as bright as baby's ass. Alright. That's it for today. I appreciate everybody hanging out. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.